Real man moving back between Commander Zulu and the Young Bull. Yo, Young Bull, what you know good?
All I know is hardcore, man.
Woo, he said all I know is hardcore. There it is, baby, give it to him. All I know is hardcore. Salute family, it's Tank Commander Zulu back at you once again in that Real Man Movement. Today here at the Real Man Movement, I'm going to be introducing to everyone Black Flag, the story of the African American veteran. I'm going to be doing this in series, y'all. And today is going to be episode 1 of the series, Black Flag, the story of the African American veteran. This episode today is going to be dealing with the experience that every African American has or encounters when first entering the military. The signs of racism that may have been present. The signs of racism that were not revealed to the world. We're going to be revealing everything that African American veterans went through while producing a service to this country. Black Flag, y'all, the African American veteran stories. Let's get to it. Fire in the hole, baby. Okay. Well, listen, brothers. I'm thankful that you guys did answer the call. I did put the call out to each one of you to come on this Zoom conference, and we want to give something back to the world from a perspective that a lot of people do not address. And here at Tank Commander Zulu and the Real Man Movement, I'm kind of a stickler on dealing with subjects that are touchy and subjects that people just really don't address. To give you the full picture, you have to see the underbelly of situations as well. Not only the forefront and the front side and the pretty side, you also have to see the ugly side, right?
Amen.
So I brought you two brothers on, man, and I have Pastor Keith Cordier, and I also have Dr. Thurston Smith. Well, Keith, if you can go ahead and introduce yourself, let's tell the people who you are, and we'll get into your military experience. You can also add that right now if you like,
Okay.
but we're going to go ahead and delve into that a little later also. So, Pastor Keith, Brother Keith, you have it.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. As Elder Raymond was saying, I am Pastor Keith Cordier of, formerly is Reverend Keith Cordier. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I had settled and retired here in Kansas City, Missouri in 1996, retired from the Marine Corps after over 20 years of faithful service. And him here now, God has positioned me in here, Kansas City, Grandview, Missouri area. And I'm pastoring Agape Discipleship Community Church. I've been pastoring for over 18 years, and God led me to lead the African Methodist Episcopal Church denomination to non-denomination to do a different form of work in his vineyard, and I thank him for that. So in a nutshell, I'm married. I'm 57 years old. I have 3 sons, aged from 32, 28, and 21 years old. Come from a large family, both sides, from my maternal and paternal parents. And so that's me in a nutshell. That's me in a compact summational form. Amen. Okay.
All right, that's wonderful. Okay, also Dr. Smith, Thurston Smith. Right.
Good evening, my brothers. I am Dr. Thurston Smith. I served in the United States Army from 1986 to 1991. I moved to Kansas City in 2003. I'm married to my best friend, and we have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, ranging from 28 years old for the youngest and 36 to the oldest. I presently employed at Cerner Corporation as a system engineer manager. I've been doing IT for over 33 years, and glad to be on the call.
All right. Hey, once again, I want to go ahead and thank you, brothers, for taking this time out to sit here with the Tank Commander and get this information out to the world, something the world needs to hear about other black men who served in the military. And we're going to take that perspective in particularly. And that's why I'm calling it Black Flag. Black Flag, the African American veteran story. It's our stories about what we went through in the military, not in civilian, because you guys know in the military, we call the military another world from the civilian world, right?
That's right.
So I'm going to deal with a couple of topics, and I want to get your response, and we can go in the order from like we started, and we can go ahead and create the dialogue. The first thing I want to go ahead and get your guys' perspective on is your experience as black men going into the military, your first experience. I mean, just that particular experience, leaving the civilian world, going into the military as a black man. If you didn't have any significant experiences, that's okay. My story is a lot different, but I'm pretty sure that you have something that you want to share that could be of some value so that people can see us as African Americans. Our struggle is not only economical and right socially in the civilian sector, but it kind of goes over also into the military side, which is a little bit more private to the civilian life. A lot of things that go on in the military does not get revealed to the civilian side. And so they don't have an understanding. So I want to make sure we deal with that. So Brother Keith, you have it. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's a very good topic because to me it was a completely culture shock because I, as an African American young teenager going into the Marine Corps, I wasn't allowed to bring my culture with me. I wasn't allowed to even exercise my culture. I had went to boot camp and everyone went through the same training, but I thought after boot camp it would stop. But the key was they would strip you down of all of what you're supposed to be and what you have acquired to be that form you the person that you are, and to reshape you into this ideological model, this paradigm that you're supposed to be as what represents a Marine. And during that practice, once I left boot camp and went on to get my military occupational specialty and on it, and I realized that it was a better of adjustment for the white Marine than it was for the black Marine, because the white Marine wasn't so far out of his culture, because the language, the dialects, the codes, everything they used still was resonating with him because that's where they came from. But we had to learn and we had to accept it. And then when we tried to explain or try to express more or less how we think, how we live, how we go about, it was frowned upon and sometimes was ostracized, where African Americans would be set up to a point where they will get punished, whether it's a restriction, whether you receive actual judicial punitive action against you. And so and then you had to learn, even though that you were accepted into that club, and we used to call it the gun club because that's what seemed like everyone was excited about. They get a chance to have a gun and live out their fantasies with weapons. And so we was accepted into this gun club. However, we still was not fully accepted. In many cases, the white Marine will always get the mentorship, they get the counseling, they get all the support they need for advancement. And the dark green Marine or the African American Marine had to figure it out himself, because we didn't have very many leaders that was of our descent, was of our culture and our color. So, and then once we had to learn it, but one thing we did learn that didn't change from civilian society, we had to work 3 times as hard to get the standard recognition as somebody white was doing the basic or minimum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And many times the African American Marines was outshining majority of Caucasian Marines by a tremendous margin, not only physically but also intellectually and intelligence wise, as of able to grasp and able to communicate, able to lead, able to do the significant things that's supposed to make you what you were. So the issue was with that is that it was always never enough, because it was like, I can invite you in, but there are certain sections you are not allowed in. And it was like hitting rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you took on the, and as I advanced and I figured the game out, so I advanced and accelerated quite at a pretty decent speed compared to the normal. And so I took it upon myself to start mentoring young blacks that come in and giving them also, this is the code that you're not understanding. This is the code that is not being presented to you. This is what you need to advance. This is what you need to protect yourself as well. This is what you need to make it either 4 years or 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I found out that was even frowned upon about, because simple fact, they want, as one guy told me, he said, well, we're going to treat you like, we like to treat them like mushrooms. Keep them in the dark and feed them crap. So they have all these little country slangs and all kind of rural slangs and also bigoted slangs that if you're not aware of that from being from a city, that they will speak it in front of you, and while they're laughing, you wonder what is so funny. But the whole time they are expressing the bigotry that's in their heart. And so it took a lot of years, not saying on African American male, but then when females was able to come in, that was even a whole nother level. Right. So so my experience was that unfortunately you meet people that brings their culture of bigotry, and even in that setting, and they're able to exercise it within a culture that enables them, unless someone is convicted or someone that has a heart of compassion that already knew that was wrong before they even came in the military. Right. And so I ran across a few people like that also that frowned upon and did not embrace that type of clique and club within the club. And but it surely made it quite difficult for you to excel and to grow. And if there was one that envied you or jealous you or found you as a threat, you really had to watch your back, because they would try to formulate a posse or whatever it is, or fake news as we hear today, we know, which is miscommunication or not accurate communication or just flat out lies to try to set you up so that you don't excel above what they're trying to achieve, or just for the simple fact they feel that since you are African American, you should not be of this rank, of this caliber, or this stature. So, and the military has, my understanding has, since I retired, has come a long way. However, I think right now the military has to really look within its ranks again, because what's being demonstrated out here, unfortunately, a lot of those people that's on the police forces and securities, they're former military.
That's right. That's right.
and I've met so many of them that just, little scared rural kids or little scared little boys had a desire to have a license to kill that gave them the Superman ideology strength. that they feel they can be above and they can be superior, and within their own fears, they seek these things so they can be superior, because all the while they're feeling inferior,
Right.
of a race that they don't understand and they're afraid of because of what misinformation was given to them. Bad lies were given to them about a person of a different ethnicity.
Right. That's a wonderful way to structure and put that together. A lot of people would probably push back and say that they really don't believe that what you're saying and what some of the truths that we're going to be discussing, that they actually take place in the military, because of what these things do. And I want to hear Dr. Smith. You there, sir?
I'm still here.
Do you need me to refresh the question for you? Or
No. Oh, no. I'm very good. I think Pastor Cordier did an awesome job of explaining that. You know, a lot of my story is somewhat similar, but still somewhat different as well. But you'll see the parallels as we talk about it. You know, I learned on an early age when I took the military aptitude test. You know, that places you on your MOS, right? Based on what you score is based on a lot of times what job they gave you, right? And so I had made good grades in high school, and I went as a young soldier too. I mean, I went right out to high school, just graduated on a Friday, was headed to boot camp on that Sunday or Monday, I think 3 days later. And initially they told what my MOS was, which was, I forgot what it was. I don't know, it was a 76 Yankee or 77 Foxtrot, one of those, but it was really geared toward telecommunications and IT work. When I got on post to Fort McCollum, Alabama, they had told me that my MOS had changed to, it was like a petroleum supply specialist, to put me out like on, you know, on the kind of the front lines, if you will. And I found out at that time that a lot of my white counterparts had scored lower on the test, and they were doing different telecommunication jobs. And so I went back to my recruiter and told him that, you know, why was the change? And of course he acted as if he did not know about it, but they did change it back to telecommunications and things of that nature. Had I not been privy to that or really questioned that, who knows, you know, where I could have been and what they could have placed me. But as I got into boot camp and I started talking to my counterparts, my fellow black and white brothers, I realized that, you know, I asked them, you know, what was your score on the aptitude test? I know I forgot what they called it, and they told what their score was. And I would venture to say that all my black brothers scored higher than my white brothers, but they were in different job sets. And so, therefore, that's another form of institutionalized racism. So based upon your job score or your aptitude scores, they did not take that in consideration, or they did take in consideration and they want to put us on the front lines, if you will, and not put us where our scores were superior to, based upon our technology skills and our motor skills and some other things. So that was a piece, that was a learning process for me. My other experiences, when I got into AIT in Virginia, you know, you had what's called the NCO club, right? And there were certain things that when you go in, there was a certain way they'd serve you. And there was, once again, this is the late 80s, still this was going on. You can tell that the NCOs were even treated differently than, you know, as a black soldier, as opposed to a white soldier. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of those things, you know, once again, I was a young man, and it really hit me, you know, when I thought about, you know, we're fighting for the same cause, you know, we put on the same uniform. And so when we go back in our various locations or our various home site, we're fighting for these United States of America. And we find ourselves, even in the military, still being separated, right, and form of discrimination among that. And also, I went in as an E1, and a lot of my other counterparts, like about 20 is E3s, PFCs, private first class, right? And so, and once again, with my test scores, with my academic achievements, what made them go in. So I began to inquire to my white brothers. I mean, were you in like ROTC? No. Did you have a military cadet training? What took them at a level of E3 going in and me as E1? And once again, being a young man, it didn't dawn upon me until later, till I got out, and when I did work up to E5 and so forth and so on. But that didn't dawn upon me until after I got in what had transpired. That you don't really realize until you're into it, that the rank going in, it took me channels to get to E3, where these guys went in as E3. Next thing they respect fours in the less than a year's time, while I just going from E1 to E2, E3, and so
Right.
all those little things, are once again underlining facts, underlining fact of the constitutional institutionalized racism that even happens in the military, and that was in the late '80s when that happened. And you think about, wow, as a young man, you don't really digest that until you in it, and then as well as you get and you see things around you. I never thought going in that I would see that, even though I don't know why then. I guess maybe I was too optimistic. And I thought that, in boot camp, we all are the same, right? But I was a lot younger. I probably was a lot naive, and until I had to learn the kind of the ropes, if you will. So those little minor things that people don't understand, if and sharing this with my white brothers, they don't think about those little things like that keeps you oppressed, if you will, or racially oppressed, where it takes you harder, it takes you more work, it takes you to be a better sharpshooter as opposed to a marksman. You gotta clean your rifle a lot faster.
Right.
Those little things you just don't take in consideration until you're actually in it and you sit back and like, wow, that was an interesting piece of how you go in and how even the ranking from the job, the MOS, and the things that you do, how that plays a role in institutionalized racism.
Yeah.
Right. That's another wonderful way of putting some framework around your own experience and going into the military. I'm going to briefly tell you a little bit about myself as far as my experience. And my experience was a little bit different. I come from the Ninth Ward of New Orleans. I came from a broken home. The only reason I went into the military because I had no job or nothing. So that was one of the things that made me go into the military. I didn't score the highest on the ASVAB. So the options that were there for me were either infantry, and of course I was a tanker at that time. I became a tanker, M1A1 tanker. Nothing was open for me except combat arms. That was it. So I found myself, choosing and selecting to be a M1A1 tanker. We did our basic training in AIT in Fort Knox with the Marines at the time. My experience, first, I had never been out of Louisiana, out of New Orleans. Well, I've been out of New Orleans, but never really out of Louisiana. And I'm around a lot of white people who have an understanding of black people being inferior to them. This is the first thing I've seen. Now, me coming from the Ninth Ward of New Orleans, I was a cantankerous young fella. I would like to fight. I would love to fight. It always seemed like that was my release. What I'm trying to get to is that sometimes when you see anger come out of a young man or a young woman, it's based on them they have nothing else but that to hold on to.
Right.
And value your anger. I start to value the fact that I might not have this or that, but I got these. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that was kind of a corrupt way of thinking, but I'm just telling you the truth. When you are hurting and in pain, sometimes you turn to pain for comfort. So I found myself in the military, and 2 days in at Fort Knox. It was a white guy called me a porch monkey. I had never heard that terminology before, porch monkey.
Yeah.
That's what he called me. That ensued into a fist fight with me. Now there was all the drill sergeants were there was 3 black drill sergeants at that time. and one of them was named Drill Sergeant Good Game. So I got into the fight with the guy, and he pulled me to the side. He said he knew I had a lot of passion, but they were ready to get me out of there, calling me a troublemaker. He took me in his office, and know what he told me? I'll never forget this to this day. He said, listen, he said, son, you're going to have to learn. If you want to stay in the military, you're going to have to learn how to pick and choose your battles. Now he told me, that was the beginning of me understanding that some things that I knew weren't right or disrespectful that I had to submit to.
Yes.
So it taught me I was learning automatically from day 2 now, that even in the sight of disrespect, if this battle is too big for me to win, I just simply have to submit to it. I'm pretty sure you've heard, if you've been in the military any length of time, you know, you've heard you got to learn how to pick and choose.
Right.
So for me, my experience, that was my experience. My experience was first, I immediately saw disrespect and racism soon as I got in there. And when it was able to come out, you put people around each other long enough, the true nature of the individual shows.
Yes. In
any and every case. I've learned that in combat too. But that was my first experience going in as a black soldier. You know, I was thinking, I already came from a place where I didn't expect much from white people. That's just the truth. And so I was never in my environment in the 9th Ward. It's not many white people at all. I mean, I could tell you with all the schools I went to, I may have seen 1 or 2 white people in the same school system with me. So my way of growing up was different. And I was easily disrespected particularly by white people who felt that they can just tell me or say anything to me. So that was kind of my experience.